I never imagined my life could feel so hollow. The day I realized he seemed to care more for our neighbor than me, everything shifted in a way that unsettled the very foundation of my heart. My name is Margaret, I'm 72 years old, and I've lived in this small town all my life. I thought I knew my husband, until that moment, until I saw the subtle changes, the quiet gestures, the things I had once thought were insignificant. Henry and I had built a life together. 40 years of quiet love, raising children, surviving illnesses, and watching the seasons shift like clockwork. Our home had been a sanctuary, predictable, comfortable, filled with the warmth of shared memories and small routines. The rhythm of our days was a comforting hum, until Evelyn moved in next door. At first she seemed harmless, polite, quiet, and unassuming. But slowly, like water dripping through stone, I noticed subtle changes in Henry. There was a softness in his voice when he spoke to her, a willingness to go out of his way, small favors that didn't matter to anyone else but him. Little gestures. Carrying her shopping bags, checking on her garden, listening to her recount insignificant troubles. And little by little, a gnawing doubt began to grow, a dark seed of fear in my heart that I tried so hard to ignore. It started with small things. Henry would step outside whenever her porch light flickered at night, linger just a little longer in conversation, offer advice he had never offered me. At first I told myself I was imagining it, that perhaps I was overthinking. I wanted to believe I was just seeing shadows where there were none. But the shadows kept lengthening, stretching over everything I had thought I understood. Then came the letters. I was in the garden shed one quiet afternoon, searching for an old photo album tucked behind dusty boxes and forgotten garden tools. That's when I found an envelope, carefully folded, wedged beneath a stack of unused flower pots. I hesitated, my fingers trembling as I lifted it. Something about the way it was hidden, deliberate, and secretive made my heart pound. I opened it slowly, and my chest tightened, my breath caught, and the world seemed to tilt. Don't worry, I'll keep my promise. You're not alone. H. The handwriting was familiar yet strange at the same time. And the H at the bottom made my heart sink. Who was he promising? Why was he writing to her instead of simply walking next door? Every theory I had about Henry's loyalty and love clashed violently with what I held in my hands. That evening I confronted him. His face went pale the moment I stepped into the hallway. He fumbled with his phone, stammered, tried to avert my gaze. Guilt? Fear? I couldn't tell. But the truth I had been suspecting for days pressed down on me like a storm, unrelenting and cruel. He loved her, more than me, I thought. Over the next week, signs of secrecy multiplied like shadows in a room. He whispered on the phone, avoiding my questions with careful deflections. He left the house without telling me where he was going. Small notes appeared in drawers, tucked behind books, slipped into places only he could have imagined. She'll need support this week. Don't let her face it alone. Keep Wednesday free. Each message twisted my stomach into knots. Every word, every sentence, was a reminder of a secret I was forbidden to know, of a betrayal I could barely comprehend. I began to follow him subtly, keeping a careful distance, watching him check in on Evelyn. Each act, each gesture of care was directed toward her, not me. My heart cracked with every small kindness he offered her, every subtle show of concern that had once been reserved for me. And then the letters escalated into images. I found a photograph, a single frame captured in dim sunlight. Henry and Evelyn standing side by side, smiling softly. That intimacy, the way their hands brushed, burned itself into my memory. I couldn't bear it anymore. That evening, rain pounded against the windows like heavy, frantic fingers. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil inside me. Henry walked down the hallway, his footsteps echoing in the quiet house. I stepped into his path, trembling. "Why her, Henry?" I demanded, my voice quivering with a mix of anger and heartbreak. "Why do you care for her more than me?" He froze. Pale, silent, his eyes wide and filled with a depth of emotion I had never seen. Fear, shame, sorrow. "I can't explain yet," he whispered. "You have to trust me." Trust him? After weeks of secrecy, whispers, letters, and late-night walks. After the suffocating realization that he might have loved someone else, I wanted to scream. I walked away shaking, leaving him behind. And in that quiet hallway, I heard him quietly sob, the sound breaking my chest in ways words could not. The next morning, Evelyn knocked on my door. Her face was pale, swollen from crying. She held a letter in her hands, old, worn, water-damaged. My breath caught when I recognized the handwriting. But it wasn't Henry's. It was my sister's. Decades ago she had passed away, leaving a life of memories and regrets behind. Evelyn's voice trembled as she spoke. "Your sister. She was my mother," she said softly. "She never told anyone. She asked Henry on her deathbed to look after me. She didn't want to burden you, but she made him promise, and he kept it all these years." My mind spun. All the letters, all the secret visits, all the late-night whispers. They weren't acts of love for another woman. They were acts of loyalty, acts of keeping a promise that had been made decades ago. Everything I had feared, everything I had assumed had been wrong. That night I sat alone by the window. Rain streaked the glass like trembling fingers, mirroring the tears that rolled silently down my face. The bitterness, jealousy, and pain washed over me in waves, relentless and suffocating. I had doubted the man who had loved me for over 40 years. I had misread his actions, his secrecy, his guilt. He wasn't betraying me. He was honoring a promise far too heavy to carry alone. When Henry entered the room, I collapsed into his chest. I told him everything, the anger, the hurt, the fear, the weeks of suspicion that had hollowed me out. He held me, whispered the story of my sister, of Evelyn's struggles, of the decades-long promise he had silently carried. For years he had protected both of us, in ways I had never understood. In the days that followed, the tension slowly lifted. Evelyn and I talked for hours. She was family I hadn't known I had. He was not a threat. Henry and I also talked about assumptions, mistrust, and the fragility of love. Shadows lingered, but understanding began to grow. Trust, once cracked, slowly began to repair itself. I watched him help Evelyn with groceries, and instead of jealousy, a wave of gratitude washed over me. Gratitude for his loyalty, his honor, his love for both of us. Gratitude for a man who had carried the weight of promises and silences for decades. I learned something that day I never want to forget. Love is not always obvious. Loyalty is not always visible. Promises can be hidden for decades. And assumptions can almost destroy everything you hold dear. Be careful what you assume, even about the people you think you know best. Even love can wear a mask. Even silence can hold the heaviest truths.